I lost my fiancé 3 years ago, and now my sister wants me to give her his engagement ring for her own wedding. I never thought I'd be posting here about something like this, but here I am. 3 years ago, my fiancé Ben passed away in a car accident. We were 6 months away from our wedding day when it happened. I still wear the engagement ring he gave me on a necklace. I couldn't bear to keep it in a drawer somewhere. It's probably the most precious thing I own. About 6 months ago, I lost my position at the university where I was teaching when they made cuts to my department. With my lease ending and finances tight, I reluctantly moved back to my hometown to live with my parents temporarily. Not ideal at 32, trust me. My parents seemed happy to have me back, so at least there's that. I've been working at a local environmental conservation nonprofit for the past few months. Ben used to volunteer there years ago, and somehow working there has been both healing and difficult at the same time. It feels like I'm continuing something he cared about, which means a lot to me. I've also started dating again recently. My younger sister Megan has been dating Chris for just under a year, and they recently got engaged. The family had a dinner last night to celebrate their engagement. I was genuinely happy for her. She deserves someone good, and Chris seems decent from the little I've gotten to know him. During dinner, I kept noticing Megan staring at my necklace. I didn't think much of it at the time, though in hindsight, I should have seen what was coming. After dinner, we were in the kitchen washing dishes when she brought it up. She suggested that since I'm moving on with David, maybe I could pass on Ben's ring so she could use the diamond for her own engagement ring. She tried to frame it as this beautiful way to honor Ben's memory within the family, while also helping them save money for the wedding. I just stood there speechless for a solid minute. When I finally told her I wasn't comfortable with that idea, her tone completely changed. She went from gentle to irritated and said, I can't hold on to the past forever, and that Ben would want the ring to be used, not hidden away on a necklace. The audacity to tell me what my dead fiancé would have wanted still has me shaking with anger as I type this. I tried to explain that the ring represents a future that was taken from us. It's not just jewelry to me. It's deeply significant, and I'm nowhere near ready to part with it. Not that I think I'll ever be. That's when our mom walked in on the conversation and immediately sided with Megan. She said it would be sweet to keep the diamond in the family, and that after 3 years, it's time to think about moving forward. I felt completely blindsided by both of them. I firmly told them that the ring belongs to me. It's not a family heirloom. It was given to me by Ben, and I won't be parting with it. Megan said I was being selfish by hoarding a ring I'll never use in the traditional way. She actually said she thought I would want to support her happiness, as if giving up one of my most treasured possessions from Ben is somehow a requirement for being a supportive sister. I couldn't handle any more of the conversation, so I just left the kitchen and went to my room. I immediately texted David about what happened because I was so upset. He completely supports me keeping the ring and reminded me that it's my decision alone and that my attachment to Ben's memory is completely valid. Since last night, my mom has been around the house. Megan went home after dinner, but has been posting these passive-aggressive quotes about selfishness within families on her social media. Real mature, right? She even texted me a link to a jewelry store that makes beautiful custom pieces from existing stones with a message saying, just think about it. This morning, my mom made a comment about how some people need to realize what really matters in life. People, not things. It was clearly directed at me, even though she was pretending to talk to my dad. The ring is mine. Ben gave it to me. I don't understand how anyone could think I should just hand it over because my sister wants a nice diamond without paying for it. But living under their roof right now makes everything so much more complicated. I'm actively looking for my own place, but it's taking longer than I hoped. David thinks they're being ridiculous and that I should stand my ground. He reminded me last night that Ben would be furious at anyone trying to pressure me into giving up something so meaningful. That actually made me cry because I know he's right. Ben was always protective of me. I'm just so tired of being made to feel like the villain here for wanting to keep something that represents the future I lost. It's not like I have a drawer full of engagement rings and I'm refusing to share my extras. Sorry for the sarcasm, but seriously. Is it wrong that part of me wants to move out immediately, even if it means sleeping on David's couch until I find a place? I'm worried if I stay here much longer, the pressure is only going to get worse. especially with Megan's wedding planning ramping up. Thanks for reading this far if you made it. I could really use some perspective on whether I'm being unreasonable here or if my feelings about the ring are valid. Part of me wants to just walk away from this whole situation, but I know that's not rational. Help? Now for the first update. Update. My sister still wants my dead fiancé's ring, and now she's roped my whole family into it. Wow, I'm genuinely overwhelmed by all the responses to my post. Thank you all for the validation and support. It really helped me feel less crazy about this whole situation. So it's been about a week since everything went down with Megan and my mom. The day after I posted, I actually had a private conversation with my dad. He pulled me aside and apologized for not speaking up during the initial confrontation. He assured me the ring was absolutely mine to keep and said he was disappointed in how they approached the whole thing. It was nice to have at least one family member in my corner. For a few days, things were tense but manageable in our house. Megan and Mom were being civil but distant, short answers, and remembering errands whenever I entered a room. I started working longer hours at the conservation nonprofit to avoid the awkwardness at home and because I find comfort in Ben's projects. My boss has been understanding about my situation. Yesterday evening, I got off work early because our system went down and we couldn't access the grant proposal I was working on. I didn't text anyone I was coming home since I figured I'd just grab some dinner and maybe look at apartment listings. When I walked into the living room, I found Megan, Chris, and my mother with our family photo albums. I stood in the doorway for a minute before they noticed me, and I clearly heard Megan telling Chris that Ben would have wanted his ring to be used in a new marriage rather than sitting in a drawer collecting dust. First of all, it's not in a drawer. I wear it every day, but whatever. When they finally realized I was standing there, the room went silent. My mother explained they were just reminiscing. Chris looked uncomfortable with the situation, which was the only normal reaction in the room. Then Chris mentioned something that completely shocked me. He said he actually knew Ben casually through mutual friends in college and has tremendous respect for him. This was the first time anyone had mentioned this connection, and it felt weird that it was coming up now. Megan jumped right on this revelation and pulled out her phone to show a photo of Ben at some college party with Chris partially visible in the background. She got excited and said, "See, Chris and I ended up together. Ben would approve of us using the ring." I felt blindsided and manipulated. I pointed out that being in the same photo at a college party hardly creates a meaningful connection or any claim to Ben's personal belongings. Chris at least had the decency to look embarrassed by the whole thing. That's when my mother jumped in with a compromise. She suggested we could have the diamond reset into 2 smaller pieces, one for Megan's engagement ring and one for me to keep. The suggestion felt like a further violation. I told them there would be no splitting of the ring and asked them to stop discussing it. I said Ben gave me that ring as a symbol of our future together, and it wasn't up for negotiation or committee discussion. As I turned to leave, Megan called after me, accusing me of making Chris feel unwelcome in the family and turning a beautiful gesture into something ugly. I retreated to my room and immediately got on my laptop to search apartment listings. I've been saving since I started at the nonprofit, and while my budget is tight, I'm now desperate to find my own place. I applied for 3 apartments last night alone. Honestly, at this point, I'd do anything to get out of this situation. Later that night, my phone started blowing up with texts from 2 of my aunts suggesting I should consider Megan's feelings and be more generous with family. One of my aunts even had the nerve to say that since I'm dating David now, I'm clearly moving on from Ben, so the ring shouldn't matter as much anymore. I showed the text to David when he came over this morning, and he was furious on my behalf. He offered to let me stay at his place until I find an apartment, which I'm seriously considering. One thing several commenters mentioned was keeping the ring somewhere safe, which was good advice. I've moved it from my necklace to a secure location outside the house. I've been wearing a similar looking but much less expensive necklace in its place, and so far no one has noticed the switch. I've also started documenting everything, saving texts, writing down what's said in person, etc. If this escalates further, I want to have records of what's happening. The most frustrating part is how they're framing this as me being selfish for not helping with Megan's wedding expenses. Like, buy a different ring, choose a more affordable venue. There are literally dozens of solutions that don't involve taking something irreplaceable from me. So that's where things stand right now. I'm actively looking for my own place, keeping the ring secure, and trying to maintain my sanity. David has been incredibly supportive through all of this. I just wish my own family would show me the same respect and understanding. I'll update again when I either find a place or if anything significant happens with the ring situation. Thank you all again for the validation and advice. It truly means more than you know. Now for the second update. Update 2. Sister tried to steal my dead fiancé's ring. Now I'm moving out. First of all, thanks to everyone who commented on my last post. It really helped me feel less crazy in this whole situation. For those asking if I'm still in my parents' house, not for much longer, thankfully. In the 2 weeks since my last update, I've managed to secure a small apartment about 20 minutes from work. It's nothing fancy, and honestly, a bit overpriced for what it is. But at this point, I'd pay double just to get away from this situation. I'm planning to move out this weekend, and David has been helping me pack up my things after work. He even offered to store some of Ben's mementos at his place until I'm fully moved in, which turned out to be smarter than I realized. Work has been extra stressful lately since I'm leading a conservation project that involves collaborating with a development company. And guess who recently started working there? Yep, Chris. We've been professional when we have to interact, but the tension is obvious to everyone. My boss pulled me aside yesterday to check if everything was okay, but I just gave her the family drama excuse without details. I've stopped wearing Ben's ring on my necklace around the house. Instead, I've been keeping it in my work bag that stays with me at all times. Given what happened yesterday, that was the right call. So, here's what went down. I was taking a shower after work, and when I came back to my room, I found Megan going through my jewelry box. Drawers were open, contents disturbed, and she looked annoyed that I'd interrupted her. I immediately checked my work bag. When I asked what she was doing, she said, just borrowing earrings for a date with Chris. But the hidden compartment where I kept the ring was open, and Megan doesn't have pierced ears. I called her out, and after some back and forth, she finally broke down crying. Turns out she and Chris had talked to a jeweler about resetting Ben's diamond. They had an appointment scheduled for this weekend to bring the ring in. She came into my room to steal it. Not borrow it, not look at it. Take something from me without permission. I was still processing this when my mother rushed in, assuming I had done something to upset Megan. When I explained what happened, she said Megan was just looking and that I was overreacting because I've always been too protective of Ben's things, as if wanting to keep my own engagement ring is unreasonable. I told them I was moving out this weekend, which prompted my mother to accuse me of being dramatic and dividing the family over material possessions. The gaslighting is real, folks. That's when Megan said something I'll never forget. She told me that Ben probably would have left me anyway if he had lived, since I clearly can't let go of anything. I couldn't respond. Her statement left me speechless. I immediately called David, who came over to help me pack some essentials. I'm staying at his place until the weekend move. As we were loading my car, I got a text from Chris apologizing for the situation. He claimed that while he did discuss ring options with Megan, he never agreed to using Ben's ring against my wishes. Not sure if I believe him, but at least someone is showing a bit of decency. After we got to David's place, I broke down. I've been trying to keep it together, but the realization that my own sister would try to steal something from me and that my mother would defend her broke something in me. David held me while I cried, then ordered pizza and put on a comedy to distract me. Edit. I forgot to mention, I called Ben's parents this morning to let them know what's been happening. They were horrified and offered to store some of Ben's things at their house if needed. His mom also said she's going to call my mother, which honestly might be the only thing that could get through to her at this point. I never imagined my own family would treat me like this over a ring that means everything to me. I'll update again after the move when I hopefully have some peace and distance from this whole situation. Now for the final update. Final update. Sister tried to steal my dead fiancé's engagement ring. Family attempted intervention, but it backfired spectacularly. Hey everyone, this is probably my last post about this whole nightmare situation, though honestly, who knows with my family. First, I want to thank all of you for the support and advice throughout this ordeal. It genuinely helped me stay sane. It's been 3 days since I left my parents' house earlier than planned. I've been staying at David's while getting everything ready for my official move tomorrow. The apartment is small, but it's all mine, and right now that feels like a big luxury. I've been sneaking back to my parents' place to gather my remaining stuff during times I know they'd be out. David's been amazing through all this, helping me move boxes and listening to me vent without judgment. Work has been difficult. Yesterday, I got an email from Chris that made my stomach drop. His development company wants to modify plans for a protected wetland area in our joint conservation project, the exact same area Ben had fought to preserve before his death. The irony isn't lost on me. I've kept things strictly professional in our communications, document everything, as many of you advised, but it feels like I can't escape this situation even at work. This morning, I went back to my parents' house for what I hoped would be my final retrieval mission. I deliberately chose a time when I thought everyone would be at work. Boy, was I wrong. I walked in to find what can only be described as a family intervention. My mother, Megan, 2 aunts, and my uncle were all sitting in the living room. My mom stood up and explained they had all gathered to help me see reason about the ring. Megan showed printouts of wedding venue pricing and explained that she and Chris couldn't afford both the venue and the diamond they wanted. They implied that my actions were preventing their wedding. Each family member took turns explaining why I should share my blessing with my sister. My Aunt Jean went on about family unity. Uncle Steve mentioned something about what Ben would have wanted. My other aunt suggested I was stuck in grief, and this would help me move on. I was about to grab my remaining boxes and just leave when I saw it was Ben's parents' car. They still have a key from when they would visit Ben and me, and we've stayed close over the years. I hadn't told them about this whole ring situation yet, not wanting to burden them with family drama. When they walked in, they were confused. It became clear they'd been told this was just a casual family gathering, not about the engagement ring. My mother said something that showed embarrassment. Megan explained to Ben's parents that she had been asking for the ring to honor Ben's memory and keep it in the family. She mentioned that Chris knew Ben in college, which, as I found out later, was barely true. They had one class together the freshman year and never spoke. Ben's mom was furious. The room was silent. That ring was purchased by our son for OP alone, she said, her voice steady but ice cold. Our family fully supports whatever decision OP makes about it. Ben's dad stepped forward then. That ring represented our son's future with OP specifically. Trying to guilt her into giving it up dishonors his memory rather than preserving it. The room was silent. My mother didn't respond. Megan seemed shocked. Chris, who had been in the doorway, finally spoke up. Megan, I never wanted a ring that comes with this much pain. I'm done with this. Find us a ring we can afford. My mother tried to salvage the situation with some weak comment about just wanting what's best for both my girls, but it was too late. The impromptu intervention dissolved as quickly as it had formed. My aunts and uncle mumbled excuses and left quickly. Ben's parents helped me gather the last of my belongings while Megan locked herself in her room. As we carried boxes to David's car, my mother approached me with what I guess was meant to be an apology. She acknowledged she'd handled things poorly, but still said she was just trying to keep the peace. I didn't respond to her non-apology. What's there to say at this point? Ben's parents invited me to dinner next week, and I'm looking forward to spending time with people who actually respect me and my choices. I'm sleeping at David's again tonight, and tomorrow I'll finally be in my own place. I've already taken the ring to a safety deposit box at my bank, thanks to everyone who suggested this. While I was there, I updated my will to specify that the ring goes back to Ben's parents if anything happens to me. I'm not taking any chances. Looking back on this whole ordeal, I'm still processing how quickly my relationship with my sister and mother deteriorated over material possessions. But I'm also grateful for the people who stood by me. David, Ben's parents, and all of you here who validated my feelings when my own family wouldn't. I'm not sure what the future holds for my relationship with my family, but for now, I'm focusing on building my new life one day at a time. Edit. For those asking about the wetland project at work, I had a meeting with my boss this afternoon and showed her the original conservation plans Ben had worked on. She agreed the proposed modifications would compromise the ecosystem and is backing my original protection strategy. At least that's one victory for the day.